Hi Maria, this is Rachel. I'm going to watch your video and give you some commentary over the top of it. Before we begin, I want to say that I'm really intrigued by your project on this video, and that I think that you're really on your way to creating a very intriguing and unique piece. And at this moment, like many of the choreographers that I saw in the third showing, I think the main thing that you need to think about is editing the piece down a little bit so that it's a bit tighter and you kind of get to the point a little bit quicker, especially as the piece progresses. So I'll just go ahead and begin watching it. You asked about the piece as a performance piece, and I think it's very, very intriguing as a performance piece, but that with some editing it would be even more intriguing. I think taking your time in the beginning, however, is very important. You are getting more and more clear as you continue to perfect this phrase. The phrase takes place in a really limited space, and I can imagine that the lighting would be somewhat isolated in the beginning of the piece, possibly. Not like totally a spotlight, but something sort of only a small part of the space lit. I think that this connecting movement, it's always kind of bothered me a little bit. It feels like filler. And everything else in the piece feels very specific, and this connecting movement, I just often want it to be over as soon as it starts. As you begin the second phrase here, I see your focus going up. But I kind of think about how can you push that connecting movement and how little of it do you need. I don't think you need a ton of it. Again, I'm definitely not bored. I'm very interested in what you're doing, so I wouldn't edit any of this out. The light quality is getting stronger, but there you lost it when you were doing those runs. Very nice. It's almost like you're emphasizing the down as much as the up, so how can you land your light movements very suspended against gravity? That's a very intriguing moment, that stillness. Again, this connecting movement, now I see that the quality is different and you're getting yourself into the frantic pace, but I don't know why, I just don't get a lot from that connecting movement. I don't know why. The frantic movement, I mean, the pace is really, really interesting, but something about this, I really like the pace. I want you to get it more deeply into your body. This was so funny when you left the stage. And you got to learn how to deal with the wings. Do not slow down for the wings. I wasn't sure about the way that you were started to deal with the audience. It looked like you were sort of performing to the audience and trying to be funny. So the first movement was really funny. I like this one a lot too. But the performance quality here is really, really tricky. But I do really like it as a texture. I think you should keep it. Somehow, though, that section of crossings is a game changer. I really see it as sort of the pivot point for the piece, or the apex of the piece energetically. And I want something to be very, very different when you re-enter. How can you up the ante of the solo? This is very lovely, this section qualitatively. But here's where I start to think, okay, does she actually need the full phrase? Can you begin to start to develop your sense of duration in this piece? Maybe cutting down the duration, or just doing a few less movements for the phrase, for each phrase. Getting in and out of particular movements in this particular quality does seem harder, and I feel that the energy kind of stops as you're getting in and out of movements. I want to hear and just tell you what I mean by that. I think I have to go back a little more. So even though you're supposed to be tired here, how can you find some continuity? So there, like, it takes you a long time to initiate the arm circle. This is pretty continuous. I think this ground stuff is really, really fascinating. It's a fascinating development of your connecting movement. Again, the duration of how long it takes, and perhaps just shaping the form of it a little bit more might be interesting. I think also it's challenging because you're kind of far from the audience. This is nice. This feels like something new. The one-handed. Finally, you're looking out at the audience. This felt like a very, very strong moment in the piece to me, because your gaze is focused out at us. I did think that this could be a possible ending here. And when you started to do this phrase here, I just need something extraordinary to happen if you're going to do this phrase. Like, it's got to be the clearest, the biggest. I mean, this is very, very lovely, but it kind of, and I love this moment of you looking out and doing the four things. So I think you're already on your way here of finding yet another sort of deepening and developing of the premise of your piece. But I think instead of it sort of moving linearly into developing it, I really like this ending. It's very, very beautiful. I wonder about adding more pauses earlier that I like that. So I just think, instead of thinking about developing the piece linearly, first I do this quality, then I do this quality, then I do this quality, and you keep turning the world. I think once you go off stage, when you come back on, it's almost got to be, you've got to up the ante such that it's not, an arithmetic, but it's like, a logarithmic increase in the amount of development with every repetition, so that you're really pushing the ante, so that the audience feels like they're chasing after you, instead of that you're taking them along with you with the piece. Because I think that we sort of understand the premise, and just following it to its logical conclusion feels a little flat right now. So I think that that's an interesting challenge for you, is how can you really push it? How can you develop the crossings so they don't, so that they keep the kind of integrity of the world that you've created, while really being surprising, energetic moments. I think that the end really has to do the same thing as those crossings. Okay, Maria, really, really nice work. I hope that this is helpful for you.